And we're back. Episode 2. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good.
Yeah? How about you, Doc?
I'm doing good. Michael, I like your haircut.
Thank you. Got a new haircut today.
Nice. Looking like $1 million.
I'm glad you kept your beard.
Okay, I was going to shave it down, but...
No,
God
you
works
look
in
good.
mysterious ways. He let you keep it.
Doc, are you wearing Christmas socks?
No, they're dog socks.
Oh,
with
dog
little
socks.
grips on the bottom.
Are you a mental patient or what?
No, I'm just practical.
That's what they say at the mental hospital, too.
No. If you haven't lived if you haven't gone to the hospital and gotten those socks. So they're pretty legit.
Could you guys describe your type? So you can either take the personality approach, you could take the physical approach, just kind of characteristics. Just kind of describe your your type, or do you not have one?
Go first.
Okay, my type, personality wise, is like outgoing, and just like really fun personality. I'm really attracted to that. I don't know why that is, and I think it's maybe just because I'm like serious in a lot of my life, so I kind of like that balance. Like, I mean, otherwise, I specifically like the quirky, playful girls who like to just have fun with the most randomest things. That brings me a lot of joy, and they tend to also talk a lot, like a lot. But I also talk a lot, so I guess it's good to have somebody to talk a lot with too.
Two talkers.
Yeah, you might as well have
boy.
somebody to talk with. Yeah. What about you, Mike? Do you have a type?
I mean, like, I like to keep it simple. To me, it's just like, if you have a passion for something, I like to see, just in all my relationships, I like to be around people who, are driven, who want to do something with their lives. So, when it comes to someone I'm dating or a girl, if you got a passion for something, to me, that's very attractive. Like, I don't care what it is. Like, it could be anything. But, like, if you're passionate about it, you work hard for it, you talk about it. Like, I like seeing that. It just makes me, like, motivated. And, I don't know. It's just nice to see. And then just nice. Just be nice. Be, like, honest.
Yeah.
Like, honest and...
No, not your ideal girl. Like your type. So like
That's the type for me.
okay.
Honest people.
Not everybody is honest. But yeah, okay,
That's
I get what you mean.
true.
Just
Have you noticed any patterns?
oh yeah, I had the word in my head just now.
Do you want me to get back to you?
Just go on. Yeah, I'll say
Doc,
something
do you have
that
a type?
comes to my mind.
I would say personality-wise, I like the smart yet goofy type.
Okay.
There was a guy, who I'm talking about,
Yeah.
who he has endured in my life. in my mind at least. He's super smart, super funny, super social. So like that's like my personality-wise. Characteristics, someone that like is driven, smart, makes me feel safe. And what I mean by driven, I don't mean they have to be a millionaire. I just mean that they have to like what they do and be
Okay.
responsible.
That's fair. What about you, Mike? Did you think of that word?
I mean, like, honestly, like I said, I'm simple. Like, if she's not like funny, like, I'm okay with that.
I mean, you're funny enough for the both of you.
I know, so it really doesn't matter.
You're
That's
like
why
a
I
weird
said
funny.
nice, huh?
You're like a weird funny.
Whatever.
Girls like that.
Funny's funny.
yeah.
Let her know.
But yeah, it's just like just nice. And the word, it's sincere. That's the word I was trying to find. Yeah,
Okay.
just
Yeah.
sincere. Like,
That's real, Mike. That's good.
and not always, just kind of like saying stuff, whatever.
For the sake of saying it.
Yeah, just like this is what they actually mean. So
They're
can
not trying to
tell
josh you.
Yeah. So
Today's episode is on who I should date, who we should date. And the reason I think we should talk about it is because a lot of times, once we've done the internal work, you have an entire, let's call it playing field, where if you're not sure what you're looking for, you're never going to find it. There's a saying that goes like, a boat without a destination is already there.
Yeah.
So you have to know what you're looking for. And to know what you're looking for, you have to know who you are, which is the whole purpose of the first season. So I feel like having this conversation is super important.
Yeah, I agree because you have to have a plan, a nice plan of like what is it that you're looking for? Because you said you're ready, right? To go out there. So just like you wouldn't go to the store. Well, you shouldn't go shopping without a shopping list.
Well, let's put it this way. That's actually a really good point. If you go to the store without a shopping list, you're going to buy stuff you don't need.
That you don't need.
You're going to encounter people who are going to harm you with like junk food.
And then you get fat. You know, like you buy junk food, you get fat. Like you date the wrong person, you get traumatized.
Some people have good genetics. Eat as much as they want.
That's true.
We see you, Michael. You don't got to brag.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
It's slowing down.
I can't tell.
I know.
I put on 40 pounds. Well, that was in the military, though.
But that's like muscle, right?
No, not all of it. Well, like, I have more muscle now than when I was, like, in the military, which is crazy. Well, when I first got in the military. But when I came out of boot camp, I mean, like, I was, like, strong, but a lot of it was just extra weight.
Wow.
You eat so much. Like, they feed you
Really well.
and they will make you put on weight.
Sorry, Abby, to finish off your analogy.
So, yeah, you shouldn't go to the store without a shopping list. So now that we're getting ready to date, getting out there, we should make a shopping list. Not necessarily of, like, if they don't have everything, you're going to, like, not consider them because, right, that's when you have, like, those really picky people, high expectations.
It's a whole
But rather,
episode,
it's more of, like, guidelines as to stuff that you have to consider.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Mm-hmm. Mike, why do you think this conversation is important?
I think it's the same reason why I think it's important to decide what friends you have or what career you want to go down. I mean, these are like very life-defining moments in our lives, and these people, relative to everything else, will like influence and impact your life, more than anything. And so like, it's very important. You should take it serious, even like on a casual level. I mean, you just don't know, like, how people are. You don't know what could happen down the road, when you attach yourself like emotionally and, physically and intimately with someone. Like, these are like very life defining things. And then, just from a spiritual aspect, Ellen White says in the Adventist Home, she's like, it is from the marriage hour, and we're not talking specifically about marriage, but obviously, dating with intentionality. I love this quote. Talked about that already. It is from the marriage hour that many men and women date their success or failure in this life and their hopes of the future life. So it's extremely important. We can't play overstate that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So definitely need to think about that.
I think so too. And I mean, the same thing happens in sports, right? If you're looking for a quarterback, you're not going to be looking for a 6'7", 300-pound guy because they just don't have the mobility, the arm strength, etc. However, without your 300-pound, 6'7" guys, your quarterback is not going to survive. You need the linemen up there to fulfill their roles. So by narrowing what it is that you're looking for, and with the different considerations, you have a better chance of achieving your goal, whatever that is. So it's definitely like, I think it's super important. And because it's so important, I feel like there's a ton of areas that like need to be considered. Like, for example, let's start with age. Like, Mike, what is the oldest that you would date? Like for a woman?
I don't know. Like, I told you I'm a simple guy, man.
Okay, so
grandma, where you
40-year-old.
Man, grandma, nice dog.
Grandma will take care of you.
Yes, I mean, but realistically,
yeah,
because I do want to have kids. So, grandma, I'm sorry, but
sounds so long.
Whatever. I could see myself. I mean, I'm 27 right now.
Right.
I could see myself dating someone in their 30s. Like,
Yeah.
Like I said, I like someone who's driven, and someone that age, I feel like they probably already be established in their life.
Yeah. Or should be.
Should be. You're more likely to find that.
Especially in a woman.
Yeah.
More than a man.
And probably, they're at an age in their life where they're more intentional. That's something, that I think bodes well for, a Christian guy.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if there's a set age. I haven't really figured it out.
How young would you go?
I
mean,
I
you know the
probably
rule.
wouldn't go teenager at this point.
Meaning
Like
19.
19, yeah. I mean, I'm not like, yeah, we're not going like, underage, obviously. Shoot, it kind of just depends on the person.
20-year-old?
I mean, I like just the type of person that I am and the type of people that I'm around. Like, I feel like I generally hang around older people
Okay.
more. So I don't know.
So
why
you
that
feel
is.
like
I
you'll
feel
end
like
up
I
with someone older?
Well, someone not so young. I don't think I
Okay.
would, date someone who's like 20, maybe 21. But I then again, I don't know, because, when I go to medical school, I'm probably going to be, one of the older people there.
By far, yeah.
I would say by far, I think on average for medical school is like 25, 26 years old.
Is it?
Because a lot of people, take a gap year. They don't go right away. A lot of people it takes multiple times to get in.
But like you
They do a
graduate at
mas-
22.
They do a
so then you
master's.
use-
Some people have a
Yeah.
master's.
Okay.
So, it's just people typically older.
Gotcha.
But, shoot, I don't know.
Abby, how old would you go? You're what?
I'm 27, so I think I would only go 10 years older. After that, I'd have to think it really.
About it really hard, yeah. Wait, why is 10 your cutoff?
Because I feel like they're still within my generation.
Okay.
Because some people say, oh, age is just a number. But age is not just a number. Like, it comes down to like
Life stages.
your life stage. And like, if you're 50, you are a mature adult and I'm a young adult. Two different life stages. And if a relationship is already challenging as is within people the same age, like imagine with someone who's at a totally different stage of life. So I feel like
That's a good
10
point.
is still within, like, it's older, but at the same time it's within, especially because guys mature slower than women.
Up until like your mid 20s, but then it evens out, doesn't it?
It starts evening out, but I feel like at 10, I feel like we're almost there. So
In other words, she's saying, Mike, that she's mature, way, way mature for her age.
Yeah, most girls are. So
Yeah.
it's just the fact of
it
life.
tracks.
Yeah, I mean, you know the rule for guys, it's like half your age plus 7 is the youngest you should go. So in my case, I'm 28 now. So half my age would be 14 plus 7 would be 21 is the youngest I could go. And in thinking about it, I don't know if I could go that young because like as soon as your birthday is 2000 and
It feels weird.
It's just
she's
so
too young
weird.
for me, bro.
Like, just think about like Edwin, mom used to take care of him. He's like what, 20, 21
He was born
now.
in 04.
Exactly, he's born in 2004, and like we still consider him a child, but he's like in
He's
his
20s
20s
now.
now. It's so weird.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Or like if you don't know what PBS Kids is, you're too young for me. If you don't know who Lizzie McGuire was, you're too young for me.
And not from Gossip Girl.
Yeah. So I mean I feel like 22, 23 is
I think that's still a
is
stretch
pushing it.
for you.
It is a little bit
Especially
of a stretch.
because like
So I mean if I really don't want to push the and 24 is the absolute youngest I could go.
yeah, I feel like you couldn't do that young because like you want mature conversation.
But like,
does it matter? But does it matter,
Weren't you
though?
saying that women mature faster?
Yeah,
so like a 21
yeah, I
year
know,
old
but
is
like,
a quasi.
But their interests are different. Like,
That's true.
Like
That's
Like-
that's it right there.
like
You're
a
right.
23-year-old could be on TikTok. Like, yeah, she
I
could
know.
have a more mature. She could get more mature conversation than a 23-year-old guy. But like her interests are like are still younger.
That's true. Yeah. All right. Fair enough. So probably like 24 is a good cutoff for me.
And that kind of tracks like what we've been talking about. And
As like a rule of thumb, obviously.
There
are exceptions, but they're exceptions,
there are
for a
exceptions,
reason.
but yeah, like most studies have shown, and I been doing research and trying to find things, that the closer you are in age gap, the more successful your relationship will be.
Right.
They said
That
the
makes
ideal age range is 0 to 3 years old from this one study I looked at on, looks like an NIH study on marital
Yeah.
satisfaction of
That
differently
makes-
aged couples.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they said couples with a 0 to 3 year age gap showed greater satisfaction than those with a 4 to 6 year gap. Likewise, couples with a 4 to 6 year gap showed greater satisfaction than those with a 7+ year gap. and then a 10-year plus gap showed the biggest risk factor.
Hey, I said 10 was the gap.
10 was the gap. That's a good point.
So-
And what's interesting, like the study noted that a possible mechanism for differently aged couples, or like greatly like aged or differently aged couples, they seem to be less resilient to negative shocks compared to similarly aged couples.
Which makes sense.
And I was thinking about that. I was like, okay, so, you know, if you're, and I think maybe Abby, you touched on it a little bit. You know, if something bad happens in the relationship, you're dating someone who's like much younger, you know, you could attribute that mistake, or, you know, maybe they do make a mistake, right? You could attribute that mistake to like something that they did because they're immature, or you know, they're not experienced enough, right? Where if you guys are on the same like playing field, like the same age group, same life experience, not experience, but like same life stage, you know, it's like, okay, well, this is something we both are going through, you can both work on this together, we're both learning. Whereas like if you're dating someone who's like been through this already, they're probably going to be like, well, I don't think this can work because you're just too young.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. I will say also, just in regards to age, before we move on, is the fact that the older you get, the more irrelevant the age difference seems.
That's true.
So like, you know, a 40-year-old and a 55-year-old was a little bit more palatable, let's say, because, you know, you're in a different life stage than somebody who's 45 and 30, even though if it is a 15-year gap.
It's the same thing, but it's
but
I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like
definitely gets older. And then there's also the thing of maturity.
I think the optics look better, but the life stages and the challenges are still the same.
I think you're correct. Like, you know, obviously, like, you know, if you're 40 years old and dating someone who's like 20, you know, that's different than, you know, maybe like 50 and 7 years old, because you guys are both like senior citizens at that point. You're both like, you know, old people, like, you know.
So like, so like, when does it even out? It's like a 45-year-old and a 57-year-old.
I don't know what the statistics show. That'd be interesting to see. But I mean, like,
I would venture to say that it becomes less relevant.
I think what's interesting is that, you know, like a lot of like these age differences have seemed to like become a bigger factor, like as we like go forward in society. Like as before, like, you know, and our grandparents or something like that, age gap really didn't matter as much.
That's a good point, actually.
I mean, if you think about it, like even Bible times, like Jesus' mom, people don't talk about it, but she was 16 and Joseph was a grown man.
Right.
So, you know, we don't talk about it, but like it was okay, you know, I think
it happens like that too in less developed countries where
I think some of those are for different reasons though, but like, yeah, no, that's true though.
I think it becomes more relevant because the older you get, your life stages expand, right? Because you have the older population, you have middle adulthood, you have young adulthood. Like, for example, adolescence, here I just looked it up, it's from 12 to 18, right? So it's very set in stone. But yeah, once you get into a young adulthood, it's from 19 to 40.
Young adulthood is 40 years old?
Yeah, so that just widened by what, 10 years? You know what I mean?
Well, it went from 6 years, from 12 to 18. Well, I guess 7 years,
I don't know.
technically.
I can't do math. But.
And then 19 through 40, that's
but still
21.
Like, but
that's
still,
21 years.
So it tripled.
And then middle adulthood is from 40 to 65.
Yeah, it's 25.
Yeah.
And then from 65 until you die.
But it's still like weird though, because like if you're like, you know, a 40-year-old compared to a 19-year-old, they're still not nearly on the same, like, you know, level.
Well, yeah, because they're at both extremes.
Yeah, but like even like a 40-year-old, say like a 19-year-old's a kid, right?
Yeah.
Like I say 19-year-olds are still like, even at my work.
Bro,
like I'm working with 18-year-olds and I call them kid. I feel like a father.
2005.
Yeah.
And 5.
Yeah.
It's way too young.
And another factor for age, I guess, like topic or whatever, would be relationships that start at a younger age versus an older age. Is there like does that matter, like in terms of like success rate or something that should be factored when you're thinking about
who you should
dating? That's
fair.
Yeah, like relationships that start when you're
16,
an adolescent,
you can't expect it to run the gauntlet.
My full-time partner, she actually started dating her boyfriend. No, when she was in high school.
Partner at work.
My full-time partner, yeah, at work, sorry.
He's like, no.
At work, yeah. At work. So I work for an ambulance company. We get a partner that we work with every day or every time we come to work.
Right.
So we run calls together and things like that. She was telling me, yeah, she met her boyfriend. They were actually friends, and they met each other in high school. And then they got married, and they're, still married,
Wait, how old were they when they got married?
Maybe like 22, 23.
Our brother got married at 23,
sure.
which
Yeah.
right now would be incredibly young. Looking back,
Yeah.
incredibly young.
Yeah. But like,
I mean, they've done really well.
but what is the difference between someone that gets married or starts dating when they're that young versus like maybe in their late 20s, their 30s? Is there a gauge for success?
So
or
there
does that
is.
matter?
They do say that the marriages like in the later 20s tend to have a better success rate down the line.
That's true.
And the reason I know that is because my ex's dad would tell me that multiple times. I'm like, bro, I heard you the first time. Chill. But so like in the same vein as like age, I think timing is also a factor. I feel like people need to take inventory of their own lives.
Yeah.
And if you don't know which stage of life you're in, you're gonna have a hard time, or you're gonna have a hard time choosing who to date, and potentially you could start dating the wrong person, because there's different stages financially, there's different stages career wise, there's different staging school wise. There's a ton of different stages where if you're not compatible in that timing, you're gonna have an upward battle.
Yeah, kind of like I was saying, what was it, last episode, about like pick the age range when you want to actively be dating. That's like, you actively choosing your timing wise. So, for example, we're 27. Well, we're 27. You're 27, right? Yeah. Okay. So, like, let's say you want to actively date until you're like 35. So that's like your active. That's just an example. What I'm trying to say is like, you pick your timing. Like it's not going to come to you. Like you have to set it, and then once you set it, you can start working on all those areas, because you can't just wait until you're perfect in your finances, or you can't wait till you're perfect to actually start dating.
But you have to be in a position to do so.
Yeah, but I feel like you can work on it simultaneously as
That's
you're
fair.
in that active thing.
Like for example, you said the youngest you could theoretically go is 21. A 21-year-old is a junior in college. Would you date a junior in college? And like knowing that she may be great, you guys get along, but she can't. So like, could you date a 21-year-old knowing that she's a junior in college, and that she's got to pay attention more to finals than to you?
I mean, if I'm going to medical school,
you can't really do that. Yeah, but you're not in school yet. So like, for example, you go to medical school next or this upcoming fall. Now she's a senior, you're a freshman.
Yeah.
Can you handle that? How would that work? Different parts of
We'd
the
have
country.
to talk about it.
You see what I'm saying? Like
Probably,
that's something that people got to consider.
Yeah.
In terms of like timing in each other's lives. Something else that needs consideration is like so how like there's like a saying when it comes to like dating coworkers, don't bleep where you eat. So like,
you got it. Yeah.
it's kind of the whole thing of like do you really want to muddy the waters where you earn your money? And the typical answer there is no. However, statistics show that you're more likely to marry somebody who you live close to, who your friends know, who you go to church with, or who you work with. So even though that's the saying that you shouldn't date where you work, that doesn't actually happen in reality.
No.
Yeah.
How would you guys feel about dating where you work, assuming that the person would be an Adventist and a Christian?
I mean, I guess it kind of also depends on like what type of work you do, because like in EMS, it's like they always tell us not to do that, or not. Like they don't say not to explicitly do it, but they kind of like tell us to like be careful, because it's very like easy to date someone when you're working in an ambulance, or like firefighter, or in the police department, because you spend all day with these people, you go through crazy things, you see crazy stuff with them, so you just kind of get like closer that way, through all those crazy stuff. But like, on the negative side, like, will your relationship with someone, if you're on a call working with them, affect, patient care, patient outcome? And so like, those are things that, we know can happen in a bad, negative way. And they say like, if you're dating someone at at work, you can't like be partners with them or work on a call with them. Like they won't let you do it,
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Because like, could you imagine if you're fighting with your girlfriend and then it's like, I need epinephrine.
Exactly.
It's like, you get the epinephrine.
Or
That'd be bad.
or you guys break up.
Yeah.
And then it just makes everything awkward.
Yeah.
And so like
So
those are also,
somebody's not responsive,
yeah,
et cetera, et cetera.
But yeah, I always find it interesting how they say that. But it's like, you're gonna date someone who, you kind of feel like knows what you're going through, has those shared experiences. The same thing why we have friends who have those same lines.
Yeah. But like dating friends and even like people at church is a weird conundrum. And it kind of opens up the curse of familiarity, where like if you're friends with somebody for a long time, you don't see them in a romantic sense anymore. So, I mean, this is something that I want to talk about in the extra content on our website, where we interview the young adults here in Milwaukee, where like, there's a lot of singles here. Why don't people date, from other churches or, find somebody here? And it's like, well, I've gone to school with you since like elementary school. You've gone to my church, for ages. I don't really see you like that. And I think that's kind of again, the curse of familiarity. You don't have that mystery anymore. Like you don't have the getting to know you phase.
But I think there's a difference
like if you see
between
a cute girl who you do like, but then you realize, no, she's not into me. You change your demeanor and your relationship with her, and then you stop seeing her that way. And then if she ever changes her mind, it's like, how does that look like? And like, how do you turn that switch on and off? Where like you need that sexual chemistry, you need that connection, but with somebody who you've known for a long time, you've never thought of, but then they suddenly glue up. They had a glow up. I think there's a strange situation
between knowing someone like as a friend and knowing someone like intimately, like
in
a relationship. Yeah, so I think there's still areas like to know and to figure out. I think I've always been like amongst the thought where it's like it's better to date someone who you know as a friend, because then you're not just dating purely from the angle of like, oh, I think, you have like all this that I want, like you got money, you're good looking, physical, like, this person likes you for who you are. They've seen you like without all the stuff in the front. And the studies show actually that 2/3 of people actually started their relationships as friends.
And I mean, I think in theory, it would be easier, right? Because if you're dating someone, you want to become their friend, right? And you're dating them in romantic way too. So if you're already friends, you already know them in the friendship side. So then it's just venturing into the new dynamic of the romantic. So you could, in theory, say you have a head start as to getting to know them. You just have to navigate that transition into romantic, getting to know each other well, because you can you can bypass stuff because you assume you know each other.
Mm-hmm. And I think like a lot of that just develops with like maturation. Like when you're kids growing up, like you don't really see girls as like intimate partners. You kind of just see them as just like other people, just like, or, you may just not see them at all. You just like, you girls kind of thing. But like as you get older and you start to go through puberty and you start to get at these hormones, like you start to see girls differently. And I think like eventually these girls that you were probably like friends with, just purely just like platonically, you like start to see them like differently. Oh, like she's kind of cute now, because you're just hormones are like going through the roof.
I hear you.
So.
And I mean, what was it that you called it? The
curse of familiarity.
Curse of familiarity. That made me think of the fallacy of choice. With like lots of choice, you think
making a choice is going to be easier, but it actually becomes harder.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, granted, it's not like we have lots of choice here in Wisconsin,
right?
But I feel like it's hard because, like, yeah, sure, there's a lot of single people, But like,
not everybody's at the same stage or in the same
Exactly.
mentality. So then your
Especially-
actual like legitimate choices are much smaller than what superficially would present itself. Good point. I think another area of consideration is that of distance in choosing who you should date. So, Michael, you've mentioned multiple times that, you know, when you travel with me or travel by yourself, you tend to meet girls easily. But the problem is that they're always elsewhere and not
Far
here.
away.
I think it's by default because there's really not that,
Right.
there's so many girls everywhere else.
Right. So
but
then,
here.
Yeah.
exactly. So, like, you know, the fact that you meet them somewhere else is a huge hurdle to even start with. So
That's usually the problem, yeah.
yeah, and you know, long distance is not something you take lightly. It's not a decision you make right off the bat. So even if you like meet a girl in California who's from Canada or something like that,
Or from Colombia.
I can't stop laughing. But you know, it factors in where it's like you may have chemistry, but at the end of the day, it's difficult to let go of it, knowing that nothing can come to fruition unless you like make a decision within the next 2 or 3 days that you're there, which is really hard. How do you guys feel about that? Because it's happened to me where it's like I have a connection, it's great, but I can't pursue it any further because I know that I can't commit to long distance.
I think Christians, we have an advantage when it comes to long distance because like we know like, okay, physical intimacy, like, yeah, we want it, but at the same time we know it's like probably should wait. Probably shouldn't be delving in. We're not trying to, it's not really the expectation that we're going to sleep together or we're going to, live with each other, right? The hope is that, we get married and, whatever. And so like now this time can be just spent on just getting to learn, each other, work on like I hear people say, work on the mental side or just the non-physical side of it, right?
Yes.
So like I think we have an advantage to it, but it's still like hard.
Yeah.
Because you want to at least hold their hand. I think I said that on one of the reels, or did I?
Yeah.
Yes.
How you think about it all the time, holding hands, going
Yeah,
on dates.
see, but like that stuff, that you want to do, be with someone in their face and their presence. It's just there's a disconnect when you
And
can't
as
do
someone
that.
who's done long distance, trust me, it's
I know, like you
you
did
need affection, like
did,
you
like,
need the physical.
super long distance.
Yeah. And it
it's
takes-
just something that you need.
It's not for everyone, I will say
Right.
that. And the studies show like the farther you are away from your
The
partner,
harder it is.
the less likelihood
It is to
of
survive.
it's going to survive. And that's a lot of it. I think it's just what they say. It causes a lot of stress.
Right.
You just the natural stress of being away from your partner, which is why, a lot of couples, when one partner dies, when they've been married for years, the second one usually follows soon because they're not there anymore. It's just all that stress.
Although I heard about a study about that where it shows that men, when they're married, they usually say that their best friend is their wife, right? Mm-hmm. And the wife usually has a best friend that's not their spouse.
That's funny.
So that, let's say if the guy dies, the girl is most likely to actually continue to live a fulfilling life because she has other friends. Whereas guys, if their wife dies, since she was their best friend, usually they suffer more.
Yeah, I had a friend who specifically said that, one of the reasons he likes to date is because he doesn't really have a lot of other friends outside of.
That's so real.
Yeah.
That is so
Yeah.
real.
But knowing him is specifically the truth because he's more quiet, more to himself. And then, I think on a natural level, like girls are just naturally more sociable and they usually just have more friends, I feel. That's one of the things I read.
50-50.
Well, that's
I
one of
think
the things I read.
women just connect more.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think with distance, something that makes it hard is that apart from like the proximity aspect, is that you need to be super intentional with like the timing you spend, with the conversations that you have, and then you need to be able to see each other traveling. So that's another logistical hurdle that you have to make time for.
Monetary.
And this is why I said just don't date so a long time. Just get married,
Well,
man.
usually somebody has to move,
But
right?
again, when deciding who to date, if you want to go long distance, you have to almost make the mental hurdle of like, I'm dating to marry this person sooner than I would somebody I live with.
Exactly.
That is a commitment you have to make.
And you have to consider, well, am I willing to move, right? Because it's not always going to be the other person, right?
I mean, and I, you know, I stated it already, but I'll state it again. Like, I think as Christians, we have an advantage when it comes to these things, even with age, you know, like, because we have that one thing that connects us and binds us, which is Christ. Like, you know, if you're older or younger, if we connect on Christ and, you know, you love the Lord and we both love the Lord, like, that's something that can bind us together, even, you know, if they're bigger than 10 years difference, or, you know, they're in a different continent in your example, Josue, or, you know, there's, you know, different timing things. You guys can be connected on Christ and, you know, look towards to the future. Right. You know, whereas if you don't have that, you know, it's just casual stuff. Yeah, it's just harder because there's nothing else. Like you're connected with sex, like you're connected with I don't know, other things, like,
and that helps.
But if you have a different like age gap, or you're different part of the world, like, you know, if you don't have Christ to connect you together, you have that there's one nothing less bond, there's like nothing that would keep you.
And I mean, just if you have Christ to connect you guys, like, that just goes into lifestyle, right? Where, like, if you're a Christian, you have a certain type of lifestyle. You don't have to be guessing that, like, they're partying or going out to drink or doing other stuff. Like, your lifestyles are more similar.
Yeah, I think that's true. I've been recently getting into, I haven't actually like done it just because I barely started getting into and knowing more about the sport of rowing. It's super random, but I mean, I saw
whiter by the day.
Getting whiter by the day. Anyway, the thing about rowing is like, so apparently, I mean, I didn't know this, but it's one of the toughest sports that actually like exercises your entire body. Yeah. So those in rowing, you would think that it would be your arms, that you have to have huge arms. In fact, it's your legs. Your legs have to be just like monstrous. Really? Yeah. So Olympic style, like rowing, is you have to go 2 kilometers, and it usually takes them 6 minutes.
What?
That's what I'm saying. It is an insane amount of power.
But it's like you have to put out. Right? Isn't it like a team of 6?
Well, there's different. There's a team of 8. There's a team of 4. There's a team of 2. There's singles. So there's like a whole bunch. But like the one that's mostly known is it's not scuttle. I forget the other term. Just right off the top of my head. But when you're in a sport like that, or if you're an Olympian, you usually marry somebody who's an Olympian. If you're an athlete, you usually marry somebody who's an athlete. You're like Beyonce, so in other words, when Jay-Z. Deciding who to date, look at your lifestyle, bro. Because if you're not an athlete, don't try to hit up the girl who's a gymnast, because you don't know what she goes through. You don't know the waking up at 4 a.m. to go, you know, work out and then get on the.
What about Taylor Swift?
Unless you're gonna be, exactly. Unless you're signing up to be a cheerleader.
Well, she's dating Travis Kelce. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but they're both like mega superstars.
Yeah, they're both really. You could say she's an athlete because she does singing and dancing and all that stuff for 3 hours.
Esmeralda.
I'm not saying not like it as an athlete like Travis Kelce, but like.
Here's the thing: it mainly goes back to they're passionate. They're the best at what they do.
Right.
So
and that takes a dedication.
The thing. So regardless of what it is,
that level, so that's where they connect. That they're the best at what they do. So they're driven.
Yeah,
they're both driven.
And that's what we were kind of talking about earlier with, like, you know, well, one of the things I want in someone is that they're passionate, driven. They have like desires. I don't care what it is. Just have something, right? It could be like, shoot, man, fishing. I really don't care. It's just like, you know, if you want to go fishing all the time, like, yeah, let's go. Like, if you're like talking to me about it, like, honestly, I would love that.
And like, if you do want to get with an athlete or someone super driven, but you don't want to be like that,
sacrifices.
Yeah, you're probably going to be a cheerleader for like your life. That's going to be your job.
That's right.
Well, I mean, a lot of athletes don't date athletes, so, you know, it's not
so like, their wives are cheerleaders. That's why they're.
But if you're at the top echelon, you usually
no. LeBron doesn't.
Okay, I'm talking about.
But LeBron married his high school sweetheart.
But LeBron's always been LeBron. He's always been number one at every sport that he got into.
But she's like with her. She's dedicated to the family.
Right.
I think there's other.
So she's a cheerleader, right? You're either a cheerleader or you're
loyal. That's what she is.
She's
a loyal cheerleader. Find a wife like LeBron. way.
Yeah,
because
you
that's
found
what you
some-
want when you're super successful. You want somebody who you know there because they actually like you, not because you're money, not
Right.
because you got like fame and stuff.
He
No,
got
like,
lucky.
yeah, you want
I mean-
someone to be there for you regardless if you got it or don't.
Well, that's why
Exactly.
usually athletes, they stay with the girl that they were dating in college. It's usually rare.
Patrick
Think of-
Mahomes
I
been
was
dating
just
his
gonna say
girl
that.
since high school.
And
Yeah.
you saw like the cringy picture of
Yeah.
them, and it's like,
It was kind of cute though.
come on, kid. But you know,
Yeah.
he
And
knows her
she's-
better than we do.
And
so
she's older.
you could tell. I don't know. I mean, I think I could tell.
She's older, but
But going back to the whole lifestyle thing, when deciding who you should date or who to consider for your team, let's call it that way. If you're not willing to live a missionary lifestyle, don't consider a missionary.
Exactly.
If you're not willing to live an academic lifestyle, don't marry somebody who's an academic, unless you're willing to be a support team for that.
Or a doctor, like as well, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, because you're gonna be constantly working your butt off.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Well, not every doctor,
and
but
like I
like
said, doctors
some
need support teams too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, doctors marry each other usually, but they have a weird relationship that's like unique to them. Taking it back, like, to like a lower level. If you're a homebody and you marry somebody who's like more lively and likes and likes to go out, is that somebody really who you want to consider?
I mean,
Or should you even consider them? Or, you know,
if you
just like it's just a conversation that needs to be
yeah,
had.
I mean, these
for
are
sure.
things you hope to find out, you know, before you start dating them, you know, just by.
Right.
That's why that's why I said like it's important to try and be friends.
Yeah. And I mean, you have to like see what you're flexible in doing, right? Because at the same time, it's like you don't want to marry someone who's exactly like you. Like if you're a homebody,
Maybe you do.
Yeah, I mean, like that's an option too. But like usually, it's like opposite. They say opposites attract, or it's like a quiet person and a loud person type of thing, and then
Yeah.
they like even each other out. So like two homebodies coming together,
I mean, I did hear in this,
like they never leave the house.
I did hear a stat that if you have a similar temperament to your spouse or to your partner, you have like a better chance of success because you can understand and anticipate how they think.
But temperament is such a. We're not going to get into this psychological conversation,
Not the
but
episode.
temperament is such a. There's a. It's
Such
not
what, loaded?
psychologically proven, but we'll
Temperament,
see.
like
Yeah, like temperament, like
Personality, I guess.
personality is more of a thing. Like since you can't really, I don't know how to explain it well right now, but it's like personality because temperament is just like one part of it.
Well, it's like, you know, your natural disposition.
Yeah.
Are you quiet?
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you outgoing? Are you compassionate? Are you
Yeah.
non-compassionate?
Which is weird because like imagine two quiet people getting married together. Like
They're gonna be quiet together.
quiet together.
and they're going to be very happy while they do it. So yeah, that's something that I think that needs to be considered lifestyle too.
of course, definitely.
To make sure like when you choose to date, you know, is this person whose lifestyle I would want to even commit to? So in other words, why even start down the wrong path if you're not going to, or I should say, why start down the wrong path at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think
so-
it's just like, you know, it's just important to like have those conversations.
When you're getting to know them.
Yeah, when you're getting to know them, and you know, like, is this like something? And you got to be honest with the person. Like, hey, like I'm in the military. We're gonna be probably
Moving
moving,
a lot.
you know, a lot. Is this something you're okay with? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
you don't want to just like go into it, and then you know, you can't just be going into it and think like, oh, you know, you're gonna live a normal life, you know, and then get mad
Right.
when it doesn't work out. So, you know,
Yeah.
just gotta have those.
And speaking of like military and like career and stuff, I think when choosing who to date, some sort of similarity in purpose comes to mind too. So going back to the Olympian example, if you are a rower, that's a summer sport. But then if you are a downhill skier, or I should say, but then you marry a downhill skier, you know, you have to live in different parts of the country or different parts of the world or different areas because your disciplines are different. So, you know, that's something that needs to be considered. And like the Bible says, can two walk together except they be agreed? What do you guys think?
I think similarity in purpose has a lot to do with your mission in life, which can look different depending on what God has called you to do. So, but you can still have the same mission, like service. You can serve doing X, Y, and Z. So like if your partner's mission to serve, yours is to serve, which I think as Christians, our mission is to serve.
So I said we get the benefit of the doubt, you know, because
Whether it be as a skier, whether it be as a social media manager, like the purpose is the same of service, I think. And at least if you connect on the mission, even though your job is different, I think you can connect.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
I think,
Yeah.
you know, the most important things.
We have to go in with that mindset.
Well, yeah. And, you know, I think the most important things aren't, you know, like, you know, it's things on the surface. It's things like, you know, on the inside, you know, and that's what God teaches us in the principle. He said he looks on the inward, at the inward man, right? He looks at the heart, like, you know, who is this person like, you know, regardless, you know, of what they do. Like, is this person, you know, like a good person? Is they righteous? Like, do they have a mission to serve, you know? And you can serve anywhere, you know? So I think it's important not to always look at, you know, the job, the money, the physical appearance, because those things obviously don't last. Like, you could lose your job one day, right? You could, as an athlete, like break your leg and your career is over, right? Is that going to change the person? You always hear athletes say, like, basketball, football is not everything about me. This is not like who I am, you know? Like, I am a hardworking person regardless, right? And I am a good guy. Because a lot of athletes, their career doesn't succeed, you know? Most of them don't, right? Does that mean they're a failure as a person? No, right? So we like to think that. I think a lot of people forget that these people are human beings, but there's so much more to,
That's true.
you know, a lot of people.
What about personality? Would you guys say you want somebody who, like personally, like do you think you want somebody who complements you, so it's like similar? I'm sorry, who's different from you, and can kind of balance you out, or do you want similar? Mike, I get the feeling you want somebody who's like similar to you
In personality? Mm-hmm. No, it doesn't really. You know, I mean, like, if they're funny, fine. You know, if they're
funny is not a personality trait.
Oh, really?
It's not.
I mean,
Are we going to define what a personality trait is? Maybe we should.
okay, maybe we should.
What was like?
Because I mean,
give me an
like,
example of what you mean by personality.
okay, I don't know how to. I mean, I can't pull something right now, but like for example, somebody who's dry funny versus sarcastic funny versus like that's a completely like somebody who's dry and just impersonal. They can be sarcastic funny.
Okay.
But that's completely different funny from you.
So I pulled up a definition real quick here. So personality traits reflects people's characteristics, patterns of thought, feelings, and behaviors.
Okay, so let's just assume it is. Sorry.
Thoughts,
go ahead.
feelings, and behaviors.
I mean,
So so if she's not funny, you're cool with it.
I mean, like, like you said, there's different types of funny. You know, like, I'm not saying she has to be exactly like me. You know, I say stuff all the time that's like, you know, off the wall or whatever. But you know, if she has her own type of funny, yeah, sure. Or if she's not funny, fine. Like, you know, my main thing is just like, is this person, you know, like, I mean, it's not really a personality thing, but like, is this person thoughtful? Is this person kind? Is this person like, you know, not dry?
Why wouldn't that be part of a personality?
Well, if you're dry, I feel like, you know, you just don't want to talk to me. You don't want to do anything. Like, you know, I say something, you're just
There's
like,
people like
whatever.
that.
That's personality.
Yeah,
That's
I can't.
part of your behavior.
I guess I can't do that. If that was a personality, someone who's just like, you know, whatever, you know, like.
We know a guy like that. Remember, he's like that.
But I actually was able to get along with him. You know, it takes time. It took time for him,
somebody
though.
like him.
Probably not. But we have to, like, I mean,
you.
we'd probably have to, like, it would probably have to take some time before I see their true value and the worth of that person, you know?
Okay, value and worth are completely separate from personality.
Well, like how I would value that person.
Oh.
So, like, you know, if I think they're just, like, you know, not, you know, fun to talk to, you know, right off the bat, then, you know, I would probably not want to date them. But, you know, maybe over time, you know, if we keep spending time with each other, then I can actually see, oh, like, okay, this person is actually, you know, they're okay.
Decent,
you know, I can work with them. But, you know, I probably still wouldn't date.
Ismerna, do you think you want somebody who's similar in personality to you, or do you think you want somebody who complements your personality?
I think I want...
Or you don't know?
I think right now I want someone who complements it. Like I was saying earlier, I want someone like goofy smart.
You're not goofy smart.
I'm smart, but I'm not goofy. I feel like I have a dry sense of humor. So yeah, I feel like I would want someone to complement it. And I obviously want to do that vice versa to them as well. So yeah.
I think I want complementary too. Although I can see myself with somebody who's similar. Like somebody who's similar, I feel like I could be like a power couple with. But somebody who complements me, I think I might be more happy.
Yeah, so it all comes down to what do you want? Happiness or power?
That's a good point. So, hey, if you're deciding who you should date, personality and whether you want them to complement yours or be similar, depends. I think another thing that we cannot forget when deciding who you should date is physical attraction. You hear a lot, marry the nice girl, marry the good Christian girl, and that's not bad advice. But, Ellen White does say this. You shouldn't marry somebody who you do not love. And I feel like if you can't be attracted to your potential spouse,
You can't love them?
get started. I'm not saying you can't love them.
You're talking about physical attraction.
Yeah. I feel like it's important.
That's a big... I think it is important.
Especially as a man.
But what is physical attraction, though?
Well, it's different for everybody because everybody say beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
I know, but that's exactly. So, like,
it manifests itself.
People are physically attracted to all types of things. So, what is that?
What do you mean they're attracted? What do you mean by that?
Dude, there are some weird people in this world, man. There was a documentary about a dude who was physically sexually attracted to his car.
Well, that's a mental,
would fondle
that's a
his
mental
car.
disease.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, we have to define what that is.
like Home Alone.
If you're saying like if you're tying it to
disease.
love,
yeah.
like why should we love someone?
I think there's sometimes you can't quantify, right? You can't quantify butterflies in your stomach. You can't measure the amount of dopamine rushing to your head. That's just something that's unintelligible.
Although they say butterflies,
you know when you see it, like.
They say butterflies in your stomach is anxiety.
You can tell why you're attracted to someone, right? Obviously.
Well, I think physical attraction.
There's the sexual attraction aspect.
I think physical attraction is their physical aspect, like their hair, their eyes, if they have a pretty smile, their physique, are they buff?
Mm-hmm. So are there different types of attraction then? Because I'm attracted to people who are passionate about things, right? Mm-hmm. Is that like
so? Whether
what kind of attraction is that?
That's a mental attraction, isn't it?
I mean, we never really say that word,
mental attraction.
But I feel like I want to be with that person physically because of that.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, that's true, right? The more you get to know somebody, the more attractive they become
to you.
Yeah, but then you see the other thing about that, like the physical aspect seems to like, at least for me, it seems to
it's not that important.
Well, like once I get to know more about them, like the fact that I think they have nice hair or they have a nice figure, it seems to like go down in relation to like who they are as a person.
So what about a life outside your purpose? Like you have to connect with this person. Where I feel physical attraction plays a role.
It's just like I feel like I can't get past that because physical attraction, I will talk to someone. You only work 8 hours out of the day. But I know I feel like I would talk to that person because I think they're cute. But then if they're talking to me and I'm just like, man, this person is just not.
So if she wasn't initially cute, but she did have a passion, you'd be like,
well, if I just think she's not just like a good person overall, my attraction for her physically even would go down. I wouldn't even see her as cute anymore.
That makes sense.
So I'm just like, what is like physical attraction? I guess what is that?
I don't know.
I think physical attraction is not. I think it's important. I think personality is what keeps you, right?
Yes.
Because they say that like if you don't have a personality, the odds of you staying in the relationship, a good personality, are lower. Like you're gonna be hot, but you're probably gonna get dumped a lot because people can't talk to you.
Well, in Hollywood, for instance, a lot of the best looking people in the world are in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And these people, you check a lot of their marriage histories, they are like serial marriage, like
Divorcees.
divorcee, if there's a term for it. These people have long lists of marriages, and they're really good looking people.
Right.
Yeah.
What is the problem?
Well, I mean, there's lots of problems.
You would think if
All I
physical
know is-
attraction was like, very important, then these people would be having the most success.
I
but
think it's
a
important.
lot of times they don't.
I'm not saying it's the most important. I mean, let's be realistic. Media has ruined and soured what we see as attractive these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But
So like
Like-
the girl next door is now, just mid, and then everybody's looking for their Margot, for their, and
Yeah.
it's
it's just like when we consider,
And they don't realize these people get like
Yeah.
procedures done to stay looking good.
right.
and I'm not saying like, yeah, you should date someone who you're just not like attracted to at all. But like, if you're deciding to marry someone, at the end of like everything, should that like physical attraction?
I think the percentage goes down. But I think
I don't know. I guess I'm wired different because like for me, it's just like,
Yeah.
you're cute, great, but there's a lot of cute girls, right?
that's true.
What
Yeah.
separates you from the rest of them?
All I know is I don't see myself getting like dating somebody, meaning starting down the path.
Who you don't think is cute?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Who I can't stand at the altar, look at her and say, I am content with this for the rest of my life. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
I
have to have sex
no.
with this
Yeah,
person.
I know. No one can. But I'm just like, what constitutes the biggest percentage of your physical attraction to this
what's
person?
into the equation? How much physical would be it?
It shouldn't be the number one thing.
No,
That's
absolutely
I think
not.
that's what we're saying.
Anyway, back to the whole physical thing.
Yeah.
I think when you're looking to start dating and things you should consider, I think when it comes to physical attraction, instead of saying I want blue hair, blue
Great point.
blue eyes, blonde hair,
Yeah.
because if you get a guy with blue hair, he's probably got something wrong.
Blue eyes, blonde hair. That's what she
Yeah. Instead, look for like attributes, like for example, like do they exercise, right?
Right.
Like do they
Do they
groom do they
yes.
groom themselves well? Like do they smell good?
Do they choose clothes that are fitting to them?
Like I
Do
think
they have a style?
I think these are all stuff that play into your physical attractiveness.
Yes.
And if a better population for this, look at like Asians, look at Koreans. Like they are not the best endowed culture, but yet they have really high grooming habits,
Right.
and the way they dress
And they look
their
beautiful.
style, it just totally changes them.
Right.
I mean, I've
So-
seen some Asians that I'm like,
Well, yeah.
okay.
I mean,
Yeah, but they're the exception, not the rule.
I feel like a lot of their culture is more geared towards like beauty, and at the same
Exactly.
time it affects them because it's so extreme. But like I think it's more like looking for attributes that point to something deeper, like a good
Agreed.
personality, rather than just sticking to I want abs and like. Do you really want abs?
Or I want a girl who's well
want
endowed in in every
abs on
region,
me.
etc. Yeah, again, it's important. Definitely not the most important. Be realistic with it, and like Abby said, don't overthink it. Go with things you can measure.
Yeah,
Things
because
like that.
I heard this one time from a friend, like, if he's fat, he can always lose the weight. So it's like, does he have the foundation? Like, does he have a good body structure? It could always be redesigned. Not saying you should go.
Would you see the same like, or would you feel differently if a guy said that about a girl? She has a good foundation. She can be fixed.
I guess not fixed, but rather you can aim for healthier lifestyle.
Agreed.
I think it's all the way you say.
I think another one that plays off of physical attraction is, even if they're super cute, is something I call the DMV test. Can you sit with them doing something boring or nothing at all and be in their presence and enjoy it? Can you just sit at the DMV and not feel like, I want to kill this person or I don't want to be here with them? Can you just sit in a room, the two of you, and just, talk about random stuff and just live life without having to do anything? can you just be in this person's presence?
And that's why I believe it's important to be friends.
Agreed.
Because if you're friends, you can talk about a whole
I
bunch of stuff.
sit by my friends
Yeah.
and don't have to say a word.
Yeah.
And also, like, if you guys are in a stressful position, would you want them there? Is that somebody who you want to date?
I'm very critical.
Yeah. Or if we had kids together and my kids turned out like my partner, would I be proud of it or ashamed of it?
Yeah, I heard something
I want
similar,
my daughter.
which is interesting. I heard something similar to what you were saying, which is like, if I started dating someone and 3 months down the line, my family told me I'm starting to act more like them or be more like them, would I take it as a compliment or or would I be worried? And that really stuck with me. I don't know. What about chemistry, guys? Do you feel like when looking to date, do you think chemistry should be on the list as part of a consideration?
Yeah. But
But at what point? Because you can build chemistry, meaning you can start from 0 and grow from there. Or should you start at like, okay, well, at least we have a measurable amount of chemistry and then grow that? Because it's not easy to grow chemistry if,
Yeah, there's girls that I have
I mean,
chemistry
you have
with.
to actually want to.
There's girls that I have chemistry with just naturally, and I don't even try.
Right.
And sometimes I'm just like, man, why don't I just like this girl more? And like for some reason can't. But like,
Yeah.
it's just like it's so
That's
awesome.
real.
Like, man, I wish I felt
Definitely.
differently about you because it would be so awesome, man.
Yeah.
We just laugh and giggle about everything together, and it's just like not even trying really.
So in other words, if a guy in the middle of Tennessee is listening to this podcast and he meets a girl, but they have no chemistry, should he consider her?
Well, what does that look like? What does no chemistry look like?
No sense of. I mean, you know it when you see it. It's hard to define chemistry.
I think there's multiple factors to chemistry. It's
Okay.
not just the physical. I feel like you're only talking about the physical.
No, just intellectual, personality wise.
Because just as like when you build a new friendship, it can be awkward at first. The more you get to know each other,
That's true.
then you start vibing.
But again, you have to have some sort of chemistry to even get to that point.
Yeah, but I don't think they should be like completely cut them off. It's rather.
But what if there's like 0, like no chemistry at all?
I mean, I think a lot of it just
So, for
goes
example,
back.
Well,
I
if
mean,
there's no
okay.
chemistry, then there's no compatibility.
That's my point. So can you start with 0, or do you have to have some level?
Zero compatibility.
Chemistry.
I think
I don't know, I
chemistry,
feel like
like, is all made
compatibility-
up of like
Or should we not even consider chemistry a thing?
No, of course, but I think it's like just I think chemistry. Like, well, what is chemistry? Chemistry is like a reaction. It's a chemical reaction. So you need 2 things in place to get it reacting, right? So this person has to, you both have to have something there already. So I feel like, if your personalities click, if you guys have same life style, same like goals, or just like same drive, you're just gonna naturally get that combustion, boom, So that all goes part of it. And, if you don't have that, then don't bother, man. I don't care how cute she is.
And I think chemistry plays along with intentionality. When you're because if someone's like intentional, like I'm into you, and like they're into me,
I mean, you have to feed a chemical reaction, right?
you can feel that.
That's true. What about shared interests? Should you date somebody who you don't have shared interests in, or have few? Like, what's your personal?
First of all, you have to
theory
love
on
the
that?
Lord.
So you have
No,
to
no,
have
no,
one
no.
shared interest.
Yeah.
I mean, but that
yes.
encompasses so much, because if you love the Lord, truly love Him, you're going to be out in the field doing the missionary work. You're going to be, a loving, kind person. Like,
I mean, but there's different fields. I mean, you can serve the Lord from behind the
well,
scenes.
that's what I'm saying.
and
When I mean
never-
out in the field,
and
I mean
never
the
see
mission.
the stage.
Oh, I'm saying that's what I mean. Like when I say in the field, just whatever it is, like doing the mission work.
I think it's important to have some shared interests and some different ones because
and some different ones. Okay.
because you have your partner's not going to be your whole life, and just
Neither should they be.
Yeah, so that means you might have some hobbies that are just different that they do, and they have different ones, and that way you both maintain a well-rounded life, not just coming together and annihilate everybody, which is a danger that you can fall into. And so I think at least one shared interest, And then
You think it's a good baseline?
yeah, and then being open to getting to know the interest of them, even if you don't like it, and supporting it.
Like it.
Like
What's
if-
like one interest you guys would have like an issue getting into?
like fishing for me. Like
That'd be
if
rough,
they like
yeah.
fishing, would I be willing to go sit with them while they fish?
In the afternoon.
And I think the answer is yes. But we got to put a time limit to it. We're not going to be here for 20 hours, you know?
Sometimes the fish don't bite. You gotta be there for a while.
So it's like, what are you willing? You have to be willing to get into stuff that you don't necessarily like to connect with them.
Mike, what's an interest that if a girl has, you would have an issue getting into?
I don't know if I have one specifically. I just feel like because I've worked on this for a while. Like, I feel like, there's a lot of people off the bat that, I'm just like, this person, I won't even say a lot of people, but there's people off the bat that, I'm just kind of like, this person I probably, we probably don't have a lot of things in common, or, they're just, I don't really find them that interesting. But then over time, I just kind of like learn to find ways to connect with them,
Okay.
and I always say it's good to not have one thing you're good at, or one thing like, or one like hobby. I think as a person,
Unless you're like,
I know, but I think as a person, you should like try to diversify yourself.
Sure.
Like
As a rule of
try
thumb,
to, start like a small business if you want. Try to learn an instrument. Go to the gym. Try different things, because there's so much things you can do. So I just feel like, if a person, has something that I've never tried before, or I may not have thought was interesting, I might give it a try. Now, if we're talking about like, like if she wants to like build Legos all day, I don't know, I might not. Because I don't know. I think I have ADHD. I just have to do stuff on my feet.
interesting. Okay, yeah.
How about if she's like really into makeup and she wants to talk to you about makeup?
You see, I think I'm not too much of the girly girl type to begin with. And girly girl type is, like,
So the
likes
odds of-
being
But again,
inside.
it's just an interest she has.
Yeah.
Like, what if she's like an influencer in the makeup space? But she's
But see, if she's an influencer, that means she's got a passion about something. So,
So
then I'm
she's
like,
passionate
we're
about
good.
makeup, and that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna be wearing it, right? So
No.
No, but she's gonna talk to you about
She's
it.
going to talk to you about it. She wants to have an intellectual conversation with you.
I'll be like, less is more.
Worst comment you can say there.
Less
It's
is
not
more.
qualitative. It's just
Less
End
is
of
more.
discussion.
I have an opinion on makeup. If she wants to talk
Yeah.
about makeup, I'm like, yeah, we could talk about it. I
mean,
think
he has
too much is a
one
bad
opinion
thing.
on makeup.
Too much is a bad thing. If it doesn't go with the natural color or look of the person, then it's too much. Like it's we
for
can
me-
have discussion on it. I'm okay.
For me, one interest that I feel I would have difficulty, and I just know myself, and I feel bad that I would have difficulty getting into this because I enjoy it a lot, but I just can't do the actual producing of. I can't do music.
I thought you were going to say cooking.
I cannot sit down and learn how to do the piano with you. I cannot like learn how to play the guitar
It's
to
crazy 'cause
follow
you're
along.
always singing.
That's what I was gonna say. It doesn't make any sense, like just outwardly, but I can't see myself in the production of music. Like so if she plays excellent, but I cannot get into playing it with you. I just can't.
Because you don't know. But once you get into it, though, you would like it. I guarantee.
To be honest,
it's
I
the same
think-
thing with the gym with you. It's the
Okay.
same thing.
Well, that's because I do enjoy the gym.
Everybody starts going to the gym and
But
it's terrible. But when you see
I
those
know-
results, you get addicted to it.
The
Same thing with music.
The thing about music is for me is because I'm already in a creative field. That takes so much of my mental capacity to then be creative in another space. It's just way too mentally taxing. So I have to pick and choose what I like. That's why I listen to songs on repeat for ages because I just like them.
Exactly.
So and I use music as a different tool than many people because people just listen to enjoy it. I use music as a theme to life. So if I want to feel a certain way, I will put music.
a lot
to
of people
feel
do
a
that.
certain way.
I do that, man.
So-
That's
no,
what
but
music is
I do
about.
it, like all the time.
I do that all the time.
Okay, I mean that's news to me.
That's why you
but-
have different playlists.
Yeah,
I guess, yeah,
playlists.
that's a
I
good
got
point.
like country. I got like road trip playlists. I got like folk playlists.
So like Mike, you know about a girl that we met in or a couple years ago. She
I
plays
just
an
joked you didn't have to
instrument,
say that.
and
she
I think
likes
she's
you.
studying music, and she likes you.
And you say no.
Maybe, I don't know.
Mike,
Because of physical
stop it.
attraction, too.
What are you talking about?
Because you didn't like her physically.
Yeah.
I mean,
We immediately just suddenly found what it was.
no, she's not bad looking.
Because she was skinny.
To be honest, I think she's beautiful. The point is that like even though I was interested in her, but like once I realized she was into music so much, like my interest waned just because I knew that it was such a big part of her life that I couldn't get into it.
I would love to date a girl who's also musically like inclined, like piano, guitar. Yeah, because then we could just like work together.
Well, I'm glad you like it.
She could teach me.
You should date her, Michael. You know she likes you. Pursue it.
I have no idea.
As you get to know her, the physicality will change.
That, according to Michael Hughes.
It could. Very well. Very well could.
Yeah. What about communication styles? I think that one specifically, you have to like know somebody for a while. So it's kind of hard to figure out like who you should date in regards to communication styles. So like, are they avoidant? Are they direct? Are they uncommunicative?
I think you should be aware.
Should you even start on that path? But you're right, you should be aware.
I think you should just be aware of the different communication styles, what they consist of, and how to spot them. Because, yeah, true, over time you get to know someone's communication style. But even from the get-go, if you know what to look for, you can start kind of putting two and two together. Like, you don't need a year to know that someone is avoidant.
Yeah, that's true.
But like if you're not well versed in what those are, not just what yours is, but like what all the other ones are, and knowing once you know all the other ones, what can you put up with and what can't you put up with.
What do you mean by communication style though, first of all?
So like there's different communication styles.
So like for example, Abby tends to be direct.
So I'm a direct communication style, and then there's the avoidant.
I tend to be more passive.
So there's different. Knowing what each of them is, how they look like, and then that way you can decide which one
suits you best.
What can you put up with? What can't you put up with? And then at the same time, you can start learning how to navigate those. Because you might find your partner that's compatible and everything. It's just to have a different communication style, and you just learn to work with it. For example, like at work, I just had a review type of thing, meeting with my managers. And they were talking about communication style, and it just like clicked in my head once again that like, different people need different things depending on how they communicate. So if someone's an over communicator, when they request something from me, they want me to over communicate, even though that's not my natural instinct.
Right. So I'm an over communicator.
So it's like you have to take into consideration, because like the way someone communicates with you is usually what they want back. Right. But it's like, if you don't intentionally think about it, you'll communicate the way that you would naturally communicate, and then you could have like riffs and stuff.
Doc, I think, another thing to include would be in your consideration when choosing somebody to date, as you know them, how emotionally intelligent are they? Have they done the work? And if they haven't, are you willing to help them? So that kind of circles back in my mind to the age thing, where when you're 21, when you're 22, you don't know what work you need to have done yet, unless you've been very conscious about it and been direct with it.
Or you just haven't had life experiences to show you how you would react.
Exactly. That's something that, us who are a little bit older wouldn't want to consider somebody who's done that work and is emotionally intelligent.
Well, yeah, because emotional intelligence goes to empathy and how someone regulates their emotions and how they seek to understand others and respond. So that's a huge component, because then it plays into your communication. So if someone's very low emotionally intelligent-wise, it'll show in other aspects of their life and their relationships. But if like they're low on it, but they have a good heart and they want to learn,
you can work with that.
That's what you need to work with. Like, again, it's like the foundation of stuff, because none of us are perfect. It's more of like, do they have the ingredients to want to learn and want to improve? If they have the ingredients, that's a great thing. But if they don't have the ingredients and don't want to learn, then I'm not going to put my time into it.
Right. I think one that we can't overlook, and it may sound weird, is just regular old intuition. When looking for somebody to date, they may not check a couple of these boxes or in certain of these areas, but if there's just something in there that tells you and I connect, you gotta in my opinion, you got to see it through. It's not easy to quantify, and it's hard to vocalize in some areas and in some points. But I would venture to say that the opposite is true. If you have a gut feeling that says this person is Christian, if this person goes to church, but then you have a gut feeling that says I don't trust him for some reason.
Can't follow your gut.
I don't think you
can't follow it.
I think you have to.
I get what you're trying to say, but
my point is pay attention to your gut, because sometimes, there was actually a whole movie about this where
was it Disney?
No, it was not Disney.
Disney always be saying
no, but I mean it's actually the opposite of what you're trying to say, where the villain was like, why do people sense that there's something off with me, but they completely toss that feeling away when I offer them something nice? It's like they just completely toss it instead of listening.
Because human beings are very judgmental. And often we're wrong about people, like seeing things or like judging someone based on how you think or you're feeling about that person. I think that can end.
You don't think intuition plays a role then?
I'm saying it does play a role, but it shouldn't. Because it's just going to lead to mistakes.
Interesting.
People you think are good will turn out to not be good. People who you think are not good will turn out to be like some of the best people you ever meet.
What do you think?
I think you just go off of what people show you. Like at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words.
I think actions do speak louder than words. I think intuition is a combination of your past experiences and what you currently see, like with all your senses.
Well, that's the thing.
So that's why
see things.
Exactly. So that's why I think intuition.
Quantify it.
Yeah, sometimes you can't quantify it, and then that's when I think it's important to be introspective about it. Like, for example, if it's like a dangerous feeling that you're feeling, it's a warning sign. Maybe you get away, but then you like question yourself as to like, okay, what went on? Like, what did I see? What did I stuff? Like,
what did I smell? What did I sense?
Yeah, if you think something is off, I think what you should do, or if you think something, may be getting there, like maybe there's something there that you think is there that you really like, just ask them or talk to them or talk to somebody that knows them, but because just like, I feel like, just going off of like what you think you're feeling or seeing, it can be, I don't know. You can shoot wrong. You can miss.
Yeah,
you can miss
of course.
Something.
I don't think you should judge somebody based off of what you think. You should question it, right, and have that conversation.
Well, use your senses. You said use the senses. So yeah, I mean, like if you see them, doing something, or if you hear them say something, or
yeah, it all depends on the situation.
So
and I think as Christians, we can also pray about it, right? And like God gives us discernment. God talks to us.
I preached about this.
You can't quantify discernment via your senses.
Well, I preached about this last time. I talked about how Christians actually have a sixth sense, because I talked about Acts 27 where Paul, which is funny, it was the last thing Josue preached about at my church, but I kind of preached about it too, where Paul, he's in a storm, or he's traveling to Jerusalem to enter in a storm, right? And before to Rome, right? Yeah. And before they set off, he's like, I don't think we should go. I perceive that we're gonna die, or our lives are gonna be in danger, and all this stuff's gonna happen.
But there's gonna be great loss, as he said, yeah.
And so turns out he was right. Now he's not like a sea captain by any means, but he was able to kind of like, I guess, sense that. But it wasn't just like something he just kind of intuitively knew. He had that spiritual sense, God was guiding him. About. Yeah, God was guiding him. So I think as Christians, we can use that. We can, I guess, like, trust God. I don't know how that all works. But, that's something that doesn't come from us internally is what I'm saying. That's something that God has to give us, and we have to see like God working and see like, okay, this is God. It's clearly showing me, giving me a sign that shouldn't go there, shouldn't stick with this person. I think then, in the sense of intuition, then we can go there. But
I think that's the
outside of that
importance of like that mindfulness, that like knowing yourself, because our bodies, they pick up, like, God made our bodies so perfect that like they pick up so many stimuli. Our eyes see so much that we don't even bring into consciously
consciously process.
So like all of that, I think, plays into like the intuition and like the gut feelings. And I think we shouldn't base our decisions on gut feelings, but rather we should see them as warning signs as to like, or amber alerts as to like, what is my body telling me at this time about this?
Like, give me an example.
Huh?
Give me an example.
Like,
I don't know. Women
good-
seem to have like a sixth sense about stuff.
I've heard that, that women can sense like, oh, this guy is like abusive, but like, well, how do you sense that though? Like what gives it off?
If you could describe it,
Yeah.
you could quantify
Well, I know there's-
it's hard to describe, I guess.
But then again, if you have a mindful practice and you're more in tune with your body, you can actually describe it. So, like for example, like
that takes effort and
if
work.
your hands get clammy or like your hands get tight and you're very intentional about your body and you're like noticing it, you could describe that. Whereas most of the population doesn't do that. Most of the population doesn't do body scans.
How does that relate to someone you're unsure about though?
Because your body's telling you something.
I don't know about
for
that.
example, like
there's a fine line between protection and aggression.
so,
It's
like
just
even the
something-
way your body reacts.
How do you
like
know it's
your-
not
like your
just? How do you know
emotions-
you're just not allergic? The guy has some bad
That's
cologne
when you
on.
have to pay attention to your body.
And then you question it and you think about it
Yeah.
and then you pray about it. That's how
Yeah.
I go about it.
And if you have to
your
err,
hands are clammy?
err on the side of safety.
Okay.
Period.
I mean, yeah, always err on the side of safety. I completely agree.
Yeah, for sure. Especially like in imminent things.
Yeah.
But like in
Especially
big
for a
life
woman.
choices as to like dating, you should see like those gut feelings as like amber alerts, exploratory paths as to why am I feeling this way.
Did you hear that, Mike? Exploratory paths.
I would say, as a closing on that, like I wouldn't base a decision off of that. I would still like, you think something's off, still like, find like tangible ways to go and like see like, okay, is this person,
Okay.
pray about it, ask a friend, maybe if you feel comfortable enough, ask that person like, hey, like, did you take my lunch yesterday?
I think we should wrap up with these two other last considerations, or at least that I have on my list. And it's, what's the past record of the person and what do people say about them? Whether it's the people who you trust, whether it's their parents, whether it's your parents, whether it's a mentor. And again, how do their past relate to that? I feel like that's something that should be considered when looking at somebody who should date.
I definitely think it does, to take some consideration into it. I wish I had statistics for this one. I think I have brought up stuff about it in the past, but like, I don't want to base a person off of other person's mistakes in their life, I still like to seek the person, but I mean, yeah, statistics show like, people who come from broken homes, like they have problems down in life, when it comes to relationships, people who were in a divorced home, and we hear that as evidence all the time. But, is that how we judge people? Is that what the Bible tells us we should do? I don't know. Is there a verse about that? Like,
About what?
should you marry a girl from a divorced family? Like, is there a Bible verse about that? Like, I don't believe so.
I don't know
I
why
haven't studied my
that's
Bible as much as
triggering
I
to
should
me.
have, but like, should we judge people based off of
Well, I mean,
past or maybe their own
with
past
divorced
decisions?
parents, that's not any choice of the girl. It's zero choice.
Yeah, but like,
and like I said,
Yeah.
in the first season, like I don't think it must have been like the first episode. I have a friend whose parents counseled him to not marry a girl who with divorced parents, and I thought that was absolutely ridiculous.
yeah, no, it is. But I can see where the parents come from because the statistics do support.
I mean, I
why
did
they would
hear
say
a
that.
statistic that said that 40 or 60%, I'm not sure, don't quote me on it, of our personality is inherent from our parents.
That's so high.
Yeah.
Of course.
So, like, if your parents has a certain personality trait, the odds that you're going to have it is really high. So, like, yeah, you could take that into consideration.
Of course. I mean, I could see why, but yeah, you still don't want to like just judge them purely off of that.
Yeah, I think you would want to, like,
You
know.
still have to know the person.
Yeah, you have to know the past, know where they are now. I would be more interested as to how have you processed it and arrived to where you are today. Yeah. Like, yeah, okay, you're from a divorced family. How have you processed it? Or how have you...
And I mean,
But would you?
we're no longer kids. What if they're divorcees themselves?
That's what I was just going to ask.
Yeah,
Stole the words
I
out of
would
my
want to know, like, why did you get divorced? How have you processed it,
Yeah, well, you know what the Bible says? The Bible says, like, if you get divorced, other than for the reasons of
Adultery.
You're not supposed to remarry.
You're not supposed to remarry.
Yeah,
it goes
I
for the
know.
person who wants to marry them too. It's like,
And then
what do you do?
I actually heard this sermon on this pastor was actually talking. He did a deep dive on divorce, and he said that if you marry someone who's divorced, that divorced for none of those reasons, you become part of that sin.
Complicit.
But see, then how do you
That
know?
is an interesting
But how
I
do you
was
even know
like-
that they got divorced for those reasons?
Well, then that's why you have to have those conversations.
I know, but like, people, they always try to paint the story in their favor, right? Like, so how do you know?
Well, you're the one who said you want somebody who's honest.
Exactly, but how do you know who's honest? Like, it's a hard thing, man.
Yeah.
Like, you're asking a lot of deep questions. How do
Exactly.
you know who's honest? What is physical attraction?
Hey, you gotta think about these things, man.
You
Life
do.
is not black and white.
No, it's
It's
not.
gray.
Good thing we have God, right, as our sixth sense.
Exactly.
And he can.
Pray,
He
God.
will reveal. Time reveals if someone's
If you don't
not
want me
honest.
dating this person, have them get a flat tire
It's true.
before they come to my house.
Oh, please.
If they get a flat tire, I would be like, you know what? Okay, God. Because that's like something that you don't think can happen. I'm not saying.
Wait,
What
wait,
if
wait,
they
wait, wait, wait.
swerve away from the nail on the road? And it's like,
Wait. Take it back. So if your partner gets a flat tire, what does that mean to you?
no,
I mean,
no,
if
he's
I-
just saying
if I
he wants a sign
specifically
completely
pray.
unrelated to the relationship. So it's like if we go to mini golfing and she hits a home run or something like that, it's like, okay. Or to what's it called?
Yeah,
To
maybe
the
not
batting
something
cage,
so
I'm sorry.
dangerous like getting a flat tire. Or like she goes into the car and there's already a flat tire.
Or if
Yeah,
she,
why would you ask for a bad sign?
or like if she chooses a vanilla ice cream instead of a chocolate,
See that?
she's for me.
But I mean, like, we have to, like, will God allow, like, if we're unsure, because
He'll let us
like
know.
I know, because people they're not always truthful. Not saying everybody who comes out of divorce is that way, but like, you just don't know what you're getting into until like years down the line, and then stuff happens, stuff comes out about the person you didn't know, they start acting different. What do you say to those people, who married seemingly great people, and then they changed like 5-6 years down the road? Like,
Well,
what
I
do you
mean-
do?
That's rough, dog.
You have
It's
to.
rough.
You have to also know that we change.
Where's the marriage counselor?
Throughout
need-
throughout the
we need to talk to
time,
that
we change as people, and like you have to be willing to work with that. And like if it's like a really drastic change, like I don't have all the answers, but if it's a really drastic change over 360,
You got to negotiate that with your partner.
you gotta go to marriage counseling and you gotta like work at it. And if the other person doesn't want to work at it, then it's
But you see, I think God is just, obviously. He knows like what our intentions were and are, and he knows what actions we would have took given whatever situation we were in. So like, he's not like, if we marry someone who happens to like cheat on their husband, but we didn't know, like, I think he would be okay. That person may have to come of a reckoning eventually, because I mean, obviously he forgave David. David,
Right.
still this day is the worst sin I've ever read in the Bible. But God was still able to forgive him, even when he was clear, like, and admitted that he did
he
the wrong
suffered
thing.
the consequences for the rest of his life.
He still suffered those consequences, but he's saved.
He should have taken counsel from Nathan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's why I say a company
So-
of good counsel.
I believe
Yeah.
in those situations that God is still just, and we don't have to, we shouldn't like feel like, oh man, this is the end of, I'm done.
I feel like to kind of wrap it up, it's just that God should have the final say in deciding who we should date. We outlined a whole number of different areas of consideration, but above them all, I think God's the one who gets the final say, and to say, "Hey, listen, you guys may be different, but
Or maybe he should have the only say.
now that's an interesting take too, right?" But we need to be really in tune with God, so that we may see a quote unquote red flag when it comes to distance or something like that. But if he gives a stamp of approval, you got to stick it out. You got to work it out, knowing that he, gave the stamp of approval or something,
Is there a literal stamp of approval? How do we know there's a stamp of approval? Like,
Well, how holy are you? How close are you to God? If you feel like you're not close enough to him to date or,
I mean, like,
carry someone down with you.
It just made me think of this video I saw this week of like this pastor. He's like, a lot of us have the misconception that God is going to choose our partner. And in his stance was that God doesn't choose our partner, but he parades people in front of us, potential people.
Interesting.
And it is up to choose. So it's like, in a way, God's stamp of approval could be in the way he parades, the type of people he parades in front of you that are after, I was going to say after his own heart, but like, that are seeking to grow in him.
Where is he going to parade those people? At the bar?
And he's
At the
not,
party?
obviously.
You got to be at the right place, first of all.
Yeah. Like, like church.
You got somewhere.
But it could be at your job, It could be anywhere because like Boaz, he met Ruth at a
your work.
farm.
I mean, you're being responsible. You're glorifying God in whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
It's in the right people. Now, hopefully, it's not the strip clubs where you're working at.
Yeah.
Yeah, your husband.
But hey, he can pull you out of there too.
Yeah, for sure. But I think like when it comes to like everything we talked about today, like age, timing, distance, lifestyle, all of that stuff, we got to consult him and all of those things. Like we can't just say, "Oh God, I already know. I want to date somebody that's this age." Like I don't need you in that area. It's like no, it's like you need him in every area, not just the final stamp of approval, but
like what if God has a girl for me, but she was born in 2000 and
yeah,
2002. It's like,
it's like
she
not
won't get my
that one.
references, but I got to be able to listen to God and not my personal choice of wanting her to get my references on what do you call it, on the Goofy movie or things like that.
I don't think there's just one girl for everyone, but
I don't think there's just one partner.
I think God has maybe people in mind, and then it's just like up to you. Like, he parades them in front of you. Like if this person's here, like will you like go or try to develop something there, But if you don't, then God's like, okay, well, we'll try it again when another time. And so I think God does that too. So because I kind of used to think that there was just like when I liked the girl as a young guy, I was like, oh man, she's the one. But
good conversation, guys. Who should I date? Heavy topic. We discussed a lot. I think we're nearing on 2 hours now. But let's pray, shall we? Father in heaven, thank you for loving us the way that you do. Father, look at all the areas of consideration we talked about. We talked about chemistry, communication style, similarity in purpose, distance, all of it, Father. And none of it could be and shouldn't be considered without you. Father, there is somebody that you have out there for us, and I pray that you can prepare us to have the discernment and closeness to you to be able to discern who that person is as we prepare to date and as we go into the dating space. Be with us throughout this rest of the week, and thank you for loving us the way that you do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.